Hey, everybody, welcome to the Signal Based Marketing Summit. Big thanks to Signals for having me on today. Really excited to talk to you about some new developments that have been happening really over the last few years, but they've become more intense lately. And essentially, looking at traditional prospecting and how we used to do it back in the day versus this new era of signal based prospecting and how it can be used not only in your outbound and cold calling efforts, but also for your internal customers and driving cross sells and upsells. So, super excited to talk with you. If we don't know each other, if you don't know me, I'm David Dulany. I'm founder CEO of Tenbound, and we maintain the top sales technology database on tenbound.com. So if you're looking for tools like Signals, if you're looking for um, solving the problems that you have potentially with your sales process, be sure to check Tenbound. Take a look at all the tools that are available there and use that in your research for making your purchases. Be sure to connect with me if you have your phone out. I'll give you a second. I'm on LinkedIn, very, very active, talking about B2B sales, marketing, sales development, sales technology, anything top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. I love it. I love talking about it. And, I've been doing this for a long time. So tracking the trends and giving people advice on best practices is what I love to do. So, what we're going to talk about today is something that, as I said, I've been seeing in the marketplace for a number of years, and it's really become to the fore even more as we move into the future. And we'll start with the buyer, and I think that's the most important to always start with. How has the process changed? And not to get into too much history, but in the past, sales has been the arbiter of information. And so if someone was starting to look at a solution or they were, excuse me, if they were going out and looking for ways to solve their problems, they would have to talk to a salesperson. And obviously, some of the folks wouldn't even remember that era. This is a completely new reality where I think by last count, we know that 70 to 80% of the pre-sales process and the research process is done online without even talking to a salesperson. So your prospects are out there, they're trying to solve the problem, but just like you and I do, first they go to Google, and now they might read an AI summary about the top tools or the ways to potentially address the problem. They're reading reviews, they're reading articles, they're listening to podcasts, watching webinars, downloading research and ROI reports, and doing all kinds of social media follows and shares. And maybe at the end of that process, go to your website and take a look at what you have to offer and set up a demo. But a lot of that is already happening without even you knowing it. We also have something called the FOFU effect, which, if you've ever read The Jolt Effect, which is a great book about the new buyer. FOFU means fear of effing up, basically. And people are more motivated not by, how much, business efficiency can I drive, or how can this make me, look good at the company if I solve this problem. It's more just how can I make sure that I'm covering myself here and I don't mess up. And so they do a ton of research before they even talk to salespeople. And then obviously, when you, as the seller or the marketer or the proponent of your product or service, are thinking about how do I go out and start talking to people, bring it down to the first principles. So I know that I need to be talking to the right person at the company. They either need to be checking out what I have to offer, or a decision maker, or somewhere in that committee. I know that I need to talk to them at the right time. I know that they have to have some sort of pain point that they're trying to solve. They're curious, to talk to a salesperson, and it's easy I can make that super easy for them. They don't have to think about it. They just have to show up, and we can have that conversation. And that's what we're trying to do every day. But from a prospecting perspective, we used to have to, each one of these steps was a tremendous amount of work. And I always reference, the TAM funnel that we all deal with every day. You need to find out who, from a company perspective, is the right target, who's involved in the evaluation or decision making, who's got the pain point, who's got the issue, who's got the curiosity that we can potentially help with, and then who's willing to actually sit down and talk with us about this. And that, if you think about that, that's what we do all day as SDRs and salespeople, and even marketers, really, is just trying to figure out each of those steps, and optimizing for getting people from complete unawareness to willing to take a meeting, willing to look at what we have to offer, and see if we can potentially help them solve the problem. So that's what takes forever, and what we do every day. And so in the past, as you know, you'd basically be flying blind. I mean, you could get a list, hopefully a good list. You get a list of accounts, get a list of names, do some research potentially on maybe what's going on at the company, read their 10K reports, or depending on how big it was, and try to figure out what problems that you can solve, and then go ahead and start to reach out to them. And we know that methodology is slow. It's almost impossible to scale. And some people would structure even their sales development team to make just a research team, and then a data scrubbing team, and then people to actually make the calls. And it's just very time consuming and difficult, to even make a breakthrough. So intent data and signal based data makes that all completely streamlined, and it's not just a push button and you're talking to exactly the right person at the right company with the right message, and you're setting meetings all day. Obviously, it's much more difficult than that. But intent data purports to help you with that long, labor-intensive process. So basically, what we're trying to figure out is, based on the web browsing history and the data that's being produced by the footprint of the prospect, how can you know when they're potentially ready to buy, or even when they're potentially ready to churn? And so top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom. And it gives you that intelligence that you need based on their online behavior, signaling their intentions. Thus, the name Signals, the company that's hosting this meeting today. Why that's super important is, again, instead of all that research, and you're essentially shooting in the dark, trying to understand who this person is, what company they're with, and what they're doing that might indicate some interest in your product. It's being served up right there with a number of new tools that are being created. And so if you think about it, there's different types of data that are being created out there. One is the first party. So that's what's going on your website. Are they actually coming to your website? And this is the traditional way of, we used to have to try to get them to the website, have them fill out an email, get their email, and then you could put them into a campaign. But now it's much more transparent and engaging to be able to see it, and that's one of the things that Signals provides. For example, if you go to the Tenbound website right now, I can see all the information, who's coming to the website, what company they're with, where they are in the world, and what they're specifically looking at. And it doesn't tell me exactly who it is, but it does give you the account information, a lot of rich detail. And then you have third party, and that's an example is Tenbound. Where if someone comes to your Tenbound page, they're doing research on you as a company. They're leaving a review. They're looking at information, and then that's something that you can see. Okay, that company came to my website. This is what they're starting to look for. Bombara and Sixth Sense integrate, directly into your CRM system, and they can pop up and give you a lot of rich information about who might be potentially interested in your product. And if you think about that, it's an amazing capability, because instead of having to shoot in the dark, you've got that information at your fingertips. Also, competitive insights. I mean, that's one of the things. If someone comes to Tenbound and they're stack ranking your tool against two other ones, you really need to know that. You really need to understand that, and that's a key piece of information to understand where you're aligning with your competitors. Because if someone, they used to say, if someone walks on the lot, like they're well ready to buy. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but there at least some interest. It's not just a complete cold call. A bunch of different ways that you can utilize this. Real-time alerts for reps, keeping track with former buyers. There's a whole ecosystem of tools out there. One is called User Gems, that helps you to keep in track with your champions that go from company to company and start to engage potentially with different solutions. Hey, you already know them. You sold to them in the past, so keep in touch. Definitely something that I use Signals for is if I know that there's a ICP, ideal company, ideal person on my website at that point, and they're looking at pricing information. I mean, that is a great one. So I might even have engaged them in the past. I know actually who it is, and I can go ahead and email them and reach out. So just saving a ton of time. Even customer success teams can use it, again, to understand when their customers are going and checking out other competitors, or they're downloading research and information on the website that may indicate the health of the account and whether or not they might churn. So it gives you that ability to identify sales-ready leads faster, really personalize the responses that you make, prioritize, engage, and then, the big buzzword a few years ago was account-based marketing and the Signals. And one of the great things about utilizing intent data is for specific account-based campaigns that you're doing. So in other words, starting at that top level of here's a list of 100 companies that we want to go after. If any of those specific companies either come to us as a first person or a third party, we want to know that. We want to be able to deliver that information back to the SDRs and the salespeople, and make sure that if it's in that range, we are ready for that, and we're ready to reach out to the people that work at those companies and get them into a meeting. Another really interesting use case is combining this information that you're gathering from their web visits with product usage. And so you could, for example, have it set up where if someone's utilizing a certain type of product within your suite, they're doing more and more with that one product, and then you also notice that they're going on to a review site, or they're going onto your website and looking for specific solutions that maybe are missing from the product usage case. That now you have that key piece of information that you can reach out to them and go, hey, by the way, can we set up a quick meeting? I wanted to show you the different ways that you could use this and potentially expand or better utilize the tool, to make sure that you're getting the most value from it. So having that information is absolutely, I would say it's almost essential in these days, and definitely if you're on this call, this is either something that you are utilizing or are thinking about. And by the way, available. Hit me up on LinkedIn or through the Tenbound website. We talk to people all day that are trying to implement sales and marketing tools, and they're looking for the best use case and information of especially with utilization of the tools and how to implement them. So happy to help. Just give me a call and let me know if you're looking at one of these. So challenges. Something that's tough with intent data is there's a lot of false positives that are coming up, and especially there's been some tools that have come out recently that try to identify the actual person that's on the website, or looking at one of your third-party sites. And from what I've heard, there's maybe a 10 to 20% accuracy. So in other words, David Dulany, you get a notification, David Dulany is on your website right now. Well, it turns out it's not actually David Dulany. It's Bob Jones, who lives somewhere else, who just happened to be using a VPN that throws off the system. So those ones are still being utilized. And even with some of the more account level intent data providers, sometimes they just give you bad information. So that can be tough. That'll continue to improve as they develop these technologies. Limited visibility, you can't see necessarily who the person is that's on the website, and that's the biggest sort of like missing piece of it. And some people are trying to address that, but it's not quite there yet. Also, I mean, it's a bit creepy in a way, in that you kind of know more information the person might not be aware of. They click to accept, yes, I'll accept all cookies and everything, but do they really understand that I potentially know that you're on the website right now? Depending where you go, probably in Europe and different places, they have different rules about privacy. So you gotta make sure that you're on top of those. And then, always the integration with the tech stack is the evergreen problem with all these. And I call it the elephant in the room, is building out effective workflows that utilize intent data for the sales team. And when I say that, it's, a lot of people, especially at smaller companies, like they'll just start hiring SDRs and salespeople, and then give them, a monthly budget to go get tools, or the manager allocates some sales tools to the team, and it's just sort of like a chock-a-block integration standard. There's not a lot of strategic mapping that goes on at the beginning, and until you get someone who's a sales operations pro or revenue operations pro, and they can start to put that infrastructure in place. So just as a concrete example, you might have a intent data provider in place that's not connected correctly to your CRM or to your sales engagement platform. And so you're losing that rich data. It's sitting out in its own tab that nobody's using right now. So you're paying $100, $200, $300 a month for this amazing data that no one's utilizing. And eventually somebody remembers, oh yeah, we're subscribed to an intent data thing that nobody's using, and they just take it out. So it's really important. I mean, I recommend with teams that you sit down and you go, okay, let's look at the buyer process of how people find out about us, how we engage with them and how we get them into a meeting. And then let's think about the specific information and targets that we need for our sales process. Marry those together and just map it out on a whiteboard on what's the minimum viable tech stack that we need in order to do this. And one of the pieces of that tech stack I highly recommend is signal-based intent data. I really think that if salespeople aren't using this, or you're behind the times and you don't have any of these pieces in place, your competitors probably do, and they're empowering your sales team to be more effective using this, and it's a big miss because let's face it, we spend 99% of the day online, either through our phone or visiting websites, and especially your buyers out there, the potential customers, are exactly the same. They're going through that first process of researching 80% of the solution before they even talk to a salesperson. So you've got to be in the mix there, gathering that intent data, and then presenting that to your SDRs and your salespeople so that they can just have that prioritization. So any questions about this? And I know we've got a power-packed set of talks today that are going to be going through intent data and signal-based data, but I would love to hear more about what works for you and what doesn't, and how you're potentially utilizing this. And I love the sales technology industry in the amazing breakthroughs that keep coming out and helping salespeople. And this is just one of them. So thank you very much, and I hope this is helpful.